We're back in the van again, pointing Hoagie west this time, headed off for a month-long road trip through Oregon and Northern California. See, I signed up for the Downieville Mountain Bike race with some friends at the end of July, so I had an excuse to extend the trip and see some incredible places that we haven't seen before, like Crater Lake and the Redwoods. Of course, stopping by some familiar places along the way, but the trip was incredible. It was filled with so much fun, a lot of training, sadly even more work, but in the end, memories we'll never forget.
Hey there, my name is Zach Kenny, and this is our adventure van Hoagie. For over a decade now, my wife and I have dreamt of having a rig of our own. And after countless adventures, both big and small, and of course, the record-breaking Utah winter of 2023, we finally decided to trade in that faithful Tacoma for this Ford Transit 350. And after building the van out to be a place that we could live, work, eat, and explore with, we finally hit the road. So follow along because, simply put, adventure doesn't find you. So we're here in Hood River, which kicks off our month-long road trip through Oregon and Northern California. So on Thursday night after we got out of work, we drove into Idaho, spent the day on Friday working from, I think it's Glens Ferry in Idaho. And then after that on Friday night, we made it most of the way to Hood River, like 5 or 6 hours of driving. And then Saturday morning, we were here by like 9 a.m.
Hood River. The town itself sits in the shadow of Mount Hood along the confluence of Hood River and the powerful Columbia River, right at the bottom of the gorge. A perpetually windy place, the climate falls somewhere between the rainy Pacific Northwest and the high desert of eastern Oregon.
This is our first time back in Hood River since 2020, so we did a road trip through Oregon during COVID where we rented a van, and then here we are 4 years later with a van that we built. It's a pretty exciting moment, to be honest. In the past 4 years, not much has changed. This is really cool. They still have the waterfront area that is just teeming with people and everybody out in the water doing some kind of sailing, wind sport. Lately it's been some kind of like kite and foil. Foils seem to be everywhere. Nobody has like the windsurfers or kite boards anymore, which is definitely weird. All the breweries in town still are amazing. Right before we came here, we actually heard about Frem, and they have amazing IPAs, and so luckily it's like right here at the waterfront area, and did not disappoint. But yeah, we checked out all of them in just the weekend we were here. Then on Sunday morning, we were able to head up to Post Canyon, where we did a bunch of mountain biking 4 years ago, and so Court did a run and I did a ride, and man, it's just super nice to be in some Pacific Northwest dirt, which is just super tacky, very loamy. It rains the day before and everyone's stoked about it because now it's like, they call it a refresh, where the mud is like, perfect conditions to go riding, whereas back home, if it rains, we're not riding for a day or two. So it's kind of funny to be a flip side of that.
One of the best parts about Hood River that was still new to us was getting to head up into the hill country to check out the wineries, specifically the Gorge White House. They had a great set of white wines, a fantastic setting. But the best part was getting to wander their farm and pick out our own raspberries right off the bush. Even Gregor had a great time trying to figure out what we were pulling off the bush and putting into our little pail. The raspberries were a perfect blend of sweet and sour, and even made for some great pancakes when we weren't just eating them right out of the little bucket. Beyond the breweries, we wanted to wander the town with Gregor, who was still recovering from his surgery in the spring. We stopped down by the river to get some exercise, despite the crappy weather. And of course we had to stop by our favorite bike shop, Dirty Finger, which has grown significantly since 5 years ago. Plus, shop dogs are always awesome to see. With Court training for her marathon in August, I was out on the bike training for the Downieville bike race at the end of July, which would cap off our road trip. Plus, a road bike is the best way to explore a new place. You get to see so much so quickly.
On Monday, we'll work from here and then head south toward Bend, where we'll spend the week before Courtney's race.
On our way down to Bend, which is only about an hour and a half's drive, we finally got up through the pine forest that surrounds Mount Hood, and it was everything we could have imagined. We got a little bit of rain, which turned out to make this whole thing seem like a very mystical forest, Plus there was all of the moss growing in some of the areas. It really lived up to all the expectations, and we can't wait to get back up there one day and really get up on that mountain. On our way into town, the setting sun lit up the Three Sisters Mountain like we've never seen it before, and we even got to see the rock climbing mecca, Smith Rock, for the first time. Well, we made it back to Bend for the 5th time in 5 years. It's pretty wild. Every time, I would love to say, is completely different and unique, but that's just not true. The past 5 years, we've come here to almost the exact same spot. We're camping here in the Deschutes National Forest, and we've headed into town so that we could go either sup down the river, kayak down the river, or just in a tube, and then go into town and get some beers because there are so many incredible breweries. And then while we're out here in the Deschutes National Forest, we're out here running, we're biking, really just enjoying it. We made it up to Bachelor a couple of years ago, but otherwise we really do the same thing every time, and we absolutely love it. The town has not changed in the slightest. It's still exactly how we remember it since the first time we came here in 2020, despite the housing prices tripling, but that's everywhere in a cool town, so it's sort of what we can expect. We're planning to be here till at least Sunday or so. Courtney has a half marathon, which is just up the road, just outside of Bachelor, so it's gonna be run in a similar area to this. So that's the main reason why we're here. I know I've said this before while we were in the Florida Keys and things like that, places we've only ever been on vacation, and then coming back and having to work while you're there. I know you can't complain about it, but it is very difficult and definitely something we need to get used to, because for 4 other years now we've only been here on vacation, and now we're not getting to do all the things we normally get to do. So complaining about a good thing, but it is very funny to be stuck inside the van working for 10 hours a day, wanting to be outside, wanting to be on the river, but we're still making it out there. We got on the river twice already with the new sup, which is pretty rad. Gonna get to do a big bike ride tomorrow, hopefully, and then Court's got her race. It might stick around for another day or two. And since we've been at camp for the entire week, we've been obviously trying to cook our own meals down, at camp. And Courtney's been whipping up so many good meals, especially over the fire. We had tacos the one night, and now we're doing a curry, and so we're getting some fire roasted veggies. Fantastic. All right, happy second day of summer. We're here in Bend on our month-long road trip, and it's time to do a big ride. Court's got a half marathon tomorrow, so gotta get my big ride in today. Plan is to ride up from where we're camping in the Deschutes National Forest to Mount Bachelor. Actually, don't know the distance. It might be a 30, 40, 50 mile day. Slightly different than Hood River, as we are what I'd say out of the Pacific Northwest, despite still being in Oregon. It's so much drier. The dirt is bone dry midsummer. It still rides really, really well. It's not moon dust, so it's somewhere between that and gravel. And it's an absolute beautiful trail. I'm on Storm King right now to Funner, climbing up. Just on the way to Bachelor. First view of Bachelor. This will be a lot more fun going downhill, but just passing Bachelor over there. Currently just trying to avoid all the snowfields. Happy summer! Got the sisters behind me. Beautiful lakes up there, that's for sure. Bachelor up there. Well, I just tried making a loop, and apparently there's a lot of snow, and I quickly found that. So I gotta head back down the road and go to the Swampy Lake Snow Park or something like that, and then pick up a trail from there. That was a long one. Got 40.69 miles, and an ascent of 4,168 feet. Feeling it. And a total time of 4 hours and 30 minutes. That was a good one. That was a really good one. But I'm spent, so now it's beer o'clock. Saturday morning rolled around, and we headed up from camp up to Swampy Lake Snow Park for the start of Courtney's half marathon. You excited?
And nervous, but yes, it'll be fun. Hopefully.
And they were off. in the early morning on a course that would wind its way through the trails and the slopes of Mount Bachelor. See, I got the easy job, and that's just to wander out on course, take some photos, but more importantly, bring Gregor along for some motivation for Court mid-race. Though, it obviously wasn't needed because Court crushed it this time.
How's it going?
Going so far.
With another half in the bag, we headed down into town, staying actually in a hotel for once, so that we can enjoy all the breweries, celebrate, and of course enjoy a nice shower too.
Because next up is Crater Lake. Very, very excited to see it, but with a dog, you really can only do so much in the national park, so we tend to not visit them too often. We get to go see them, do the hot thing, and then we don't really get to stay. That's up next.
On our way down to Crater Lake, we found ourselves skirting around the Darlene 3 forest fire, just east of Lapine. And it kicked off earlier that day and grew very rapidly. It burned over 4,000 acres before being contained, and it reportedly had been started by fireworks near a homeless encampment. So sad, but luckily I think everybody was okay.
After leaving Bend, we headed south to Crater Lake National Park, and we worked from a parking lot right overlooking the rim for the entire day, and it was awesome. We stayed actually in the park the night before at the campground, first come first serve. That worked out, and then we're in the parking lot by like 7 a.m. There are few places more beautiful than Crater Lake. It's sad that there's so much snow still that like most of the park is closed, but I was able to get out for a bike ride along the main road that goes up to the north entrance, and there was no cars because it was still closed, even though there's plenty cleared from snow. But the water at Crater Lake is unbelievably blue. We've seen a lot of Caribbean, Pacific Island, and you name it, blue waters, Mediterranean. Crater Lake is on a next level of blue. It is fantastic. It's definitely a bucket list I think everybody should see once in their life. After we left Crater Lake, we headed southwest, I guess, to a place along the Rogue River. There we just spent the night, and then we worked the next day from a state park, and then headed to our first of 3 in a row Harvest Host. We stayed actually at a bike shop, which is pretty cool because I needed a bunch of bike stuff, so it was great to be able to contribute to a bike shop because I never really get to do that because I do a lot of my own maintenance. And the town itself, though, not great. Grants Pass, a couple great breweries, but we went to like a park to work from, and just tons and tons of homeless people. Not that that's bad, but just obvious drug den. Like, sadly, it's just everybody's a zombie. So it didn't feel too safe there, and so we ended up leaving, heading to our next Harvest Host. So we're here in Southern Oregon at Dwell Winery, where we're staying with a Harvest Host, which, if you're not familiar, is actually just an awesome platform where you get to stay at like wineries and breweries for free. You pay for a one-time fee of $99 or something like that, and then you get to stay at these wineries for free. The expectation, obviously, is that you come here and you go spend some money drinking or whatever, eating, which we were going to do anyway. So it's an awesome platform. Can't recommend it enough. With that being said, we're here in Southern Oregon. We just had an awesome time since leaving Bend. Obviously, always sad to leave Bend. It is our favorite place. We haven't found any place better. Here in this beautiful country, it's just along the river, unbelievably amazing. The wine here is fantastic, so that's just a great option, obviously. But for now, we are just gonna enjoy the evening. We just had dinner and hanging out by the river right here. It was fantastic. So it's gonna be early morning tomorrow, long day, but Southern Oregon has been fantastic. Summers here are amazing. There's no rain like ever. Compared to the rest of the year, and so it always makes us really enjoy this, and it's just a very beautiful place. After our stop here, we're headed actually to another Harvest Host winery. It's called like Agostino or something like that, and Courtney has to do a long run tomorrow, so we'll be actually, I think, going into Northern California to do the run and then coming back and then spending the rest of our Saturday at the winery.
And after dinner one night, we were hanging out in the van when we spotted an owl catch some prey and have its own little dinner right under the tree. I had never seen an owl this close before, let alone interact with it in such a way, and it was really wild to see. After one of Courtney's long runs in a very, very hilly country, we stopped by the Smoke Jumper Museum in the Siskiyou National Forest for a brief tour that really blew our minds. With the amount of work and risk these smoke jumpers take on each summer is insane, nothing short of heroic every year. Then we headed to our harvest host for the night, Augustino Estates Treehouse Winery, where the views were spectacular and the rosé was pretty decent. We hung out with some interesting folks on their own little wine tour until about last call. Then we had a short walk home to our van for the night before embarking on our California portion of our journey. Up next was about to blow our minds with how big those redwood trees were, then making stop up to Mount Shasta, then down to Lake Tahoe, and then eventually up to Downieville for the bike race, the whole reason for this trip. So check out the next episode for all that.